It's the Jack and Nick Horror Show.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Nick. I didn't see you there.
Yes, I can also not see you there. Even though we're in the future and we still say that, neither of us has a webcam on, at least.
No, I have one, but I don't turn it on. You don't.
Right, I don't need to look at you. It's okay.
No, you don't. Thankfully, I think maybe we should. We'd be a little bit more. It would be like we're really there.
Right, and we'd have something to show for it on YouTube, but then they'd see how much we're not actually paying attention and like looking away and Googling shit, right? And that would be
people would see me
problematic.
naked, and I don't need that.
I am always dressed from the waist up.
Oh, me too. From the waist. That just registered.
Yeah, well,
dude, I'm dressed like an Eskimo every time we record.
So hi, if you're new, I'm Nick, the VP of BS. Oh, that's a highbrow joke. And here's Jack.
I'm VP number 2.
Yes. Right.
It always says Jack and Nick because it's alphabetical.
Right. It looks better that way, alphabetically. So tonight we're going to be talking about a movie that you chose.
Yeah, and that is Just Before Dawn by Mr. Jeffrey Yoshinobu Lieberman. And
then we're going to be talking about overhyped horror movies. We're going to give some that were overhyped for us and kind of made us sad. And then we're going to talk about some of the other listeners who decided to write in with overhyped movies, which ones you felt were overhyped. By the way, follow us on Facebook and Twitter if you want to write in on things. This time I think we only put it on Facebook, so we switch it up, okay? We switch it up. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. We're now on Spotify for the first time ever. I just found us there the other day. They didn't like send me a notification that it was finally posted, but it's finally posted. So go listen to us on Spotify if that's easier for you. I know it is for me. It's better than signing into YouTube, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
For podcast sake. So, you want to talk about the movie, or you want to say anything else? You do anything else cool or related?
No.
Things have been pretty tame for me too. I like, even if we did a catch-up segment, I wouldn't have a lot of movies to talk about because I've watched like next to nothing.
Yeah, I have a lot of movies I've watched, but I'm not going to get into them. We'll get into them on another episode in about a couple months when we record again.
Right.
Okay. So here we go. Just Before Dawn, movie of the week.
Wait, no, not goodbye.
No. Well, you can leave.
Hello.
You can say enough of this show and go somewhere else. There's plenty of other ones.
You just talk to yourself. It's weird. We need this.
We do.
Go.
Five campers arrive in the mountains to examine some property they have bought, but are warned by the forest ranger that a huge machete-wielding maniac has been terrorizing the area. Ignoring the warnings, they set up camp and start disappearing, one by one. That's the plot synopsis according to IMDb for Just Before Dawn, which came out in 1981, directed by Jeff Lieberman. It stars George Kennedy, Chris Lemmon, Greg Henry, Mike Callum, Ralph Seymour, Deborah Benson, and Katie Powell, and Mr. John Hunsaker playing a dual role. Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have chosen this movie because it's a movie that rarely gets talked about. It is a slasher movie, even though I think Jeffrey Lieberman does consider it to be a slasher movie, but it's a slasher movie. So I want to hear, this is your very first time watching it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never saw it before. I never even heard of it before. I think you talked about it before, and I was like, George Kennedy from The Naked Gun. That's the most I knew of this.
I want to hear your thoughts first before I even go into it.
All right. Well, it's pretty good. Not great. I didn't love it, but I mean, as it's a weird mix of movies from the time, all like smushed together, like taking elements from them. Like it's not really a Prime movie where you're going to see things that you know, that are unfamiliar to you, because it's really like bunch of young people go into the woods and then they get killed one by one. You know this thing. But that happens in all these movies we talk about. This one in particular seems like a mix of like Friday the 13th, but only in the terms of the way that the people's are getting killed. It's got like a Hills from the Hills Have Eyes type of vibe, but nobody's really that deformed and weird who's chasing them down. It's also got kind of like a Texas Chainsaw vibe, but not quite. And then it's also like, I'm pretty sure that this movie got greenlit because it's like Deliverance, and like Deliverance was a huge deal back then. So there were a lot of movies that were kind of like Deliverance, but not quite. And Deliverance is boring as hell. This movie wasn't boring as hell, but it was definitely watchable. And yeah, you know, it is surprising that nobody really talks about it, given that it is kind of okay, not bad movie, and people like a lot worse shit from this time period. So I don't know why it's not more of a notable movie. Let's think. I mean, there's blood, there's people being killed, there's naked women, or at least naked woman, and I mean, I guess it's just that I want to say that it's just that it's like so many other things that people might have overlooked this movie because it's kind of the sum of its parts rather than being entirely its own thing. But it's still at least fun enough to watch. That's how I felt about it. I'm trying to think of more to say about it, but
That's okay.
well,
I have
so,
plenty.
Yes, why don't you start talking and then
All right.
I'll pepper in
And
like a hype man.
funny thing is that people have said to Jeff Lieberman, I'm really glad that this is a Texas Chainsaw movie. It's a big homage to that. He said, according to the DVD I listened to the first time I saw it was about 2006. I was late to the game on it because it was one of those that you don't really hear about just before dawn, you know.
Right.
And this is before everybody claims to have known every single movie that's ever been released. This was never at the video store at my local area. The only time I saw it was on Amazon in the horror section, along with like thousands of other movies. So that's kind of how I came upon it. But
So when did you first see it? Just
like
recently?
2006, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like right before I started filming my movie. That, yeah. So about 2006 or so. And the weird thing is, when I first watched it, I felt the same as you. I'm like, all right, that was all right. You know, it was passable. It was good. But then I've rewatched it since, and I've probably seen it maybe about 12 times. And every time I watch it, it gets better and better because it has the same feeling. Like the cinematography, just the woods alone, it's beautiful. It's really cool for this type of film.
Right. It was really well shot. I didn't mention that, I guess.
It feels like you're in like the Final Terror, but also a Sleepaway Camp, Meatballs, and The Burning. Like, but an offset part of that world. It really feels like it has that special feeling that you feel when you want to see a backwoods slasher movie. Another one that's kind of like Deliverance and it's a slasher movie is Rituals, which I've mentioned on this show before when I did the solo show. That one is really cool as well. That has like, Hal Holbrook and doctors that get killed off one by one, but it's more like Deliverance. But yeah, Just Before Dawn, every time I watch it, like I said, it gets better and better. And not too long ago, a couple friends of mine came over. We watched a bunch of horror movies. And I asked them both. They have seen so many movies. I said, have you ever seen Just Before Dawn? And they said, no. And I'm like, well, thanks for being honest, because most people say yes, they're lying. So I said, we got to watch it. And they're like, all right, we watched it. And one of my friends asked me, he said, and he's right. He goes, over how many times have you heard, oh, you like those horror movies, they all just depict women getting butchered and killed, right? They never point to Just Before Dawn, which is a real fucking women empowerment movie, too. Like, I don't want to spoil it, but somebody gets fucked up at the end of it, and it's not by the hands of a man. And the way it's done, you have seen in another high-profile director's movie called Inglourious Bastards. That's all I'm going to say. So, the cool thing about it is the cast is really great. Like, Greg Henry, who you see in a bunch of James Gunn movies, is great as a guy who thinks he's in charge in the beginning, but then slowly becomes, like, the wimp. Chris Lemmon, who is Jack Lemmon's kid, who also looks like Vince Vaughn, who's like, I guess the wise guy, but he's like trying to take charge. You got one girl that's like all about trying to look pretty, the nerdy brother, and what's her name? Deborah something. She's just like plain Jane with real short shorts, who eventually becomes like a badass in a sense. But it also, dude, Sleepaway Camp. Did you notice that the guy in the beginning that runs away, the old guy, is the camp counselor, the one that runs it?
Really?
Yeah, rubber face guy. But then you got George Kennedy, who's just like the ranger, and he doesn't get killed. Spoiler alert! I'm just gonna put that out there. It's kind of like he's the guy to go to feel safe, if you will. But there's something about the movie that the score it's just ambience. That's it. It's just the whistle and just that noise throughout. There's no like like Friday the 13th or any of those types.
Yeah.
It has like a very like low key the way the deaths are handled, like just the beginning with the serrated edge going through a guy's stomach and then pulled back, the serrated edge pulled back, so you can imagine what that would feel like. There's that. There's the girl. So basically, Chris Lemmon and his girlfriend go for a swim, and she doesn't mind getting topless in front of friends.
Yeah.
I don't know people like this, but
I know, right?
Actually,
like,
I have known people like this, but I'm just playing nice.
Mm-hmm.
But but like these are not normal people. They go for a swim. She's topless, both in her underwear or whatever. And the cool thing is, you remember The Strangers, the first Strangers, right? And there's always that shot where you see Liv Tyler and then Baghead guys in the back, very subtly. Same thing happens in this. When she's, Chris Lemmon swims away. He messes with her. He swims away. She's there, and you see him in the very background. The bad guy, the killer, let's say. And he slowly gets into the water. And he starts pulling on her leg and fondling her, and then she thinks it's Chris Lemmon again, but Chris Lemmon is, he's on the beach. That's when she starts freaking the fuck out. And that is very, very, like, I don't know, it's like sinister, creepy, disgusting, kind of, it adds a lot more to it rather than just like stalk and slash, And when somebody does get killed, there's the shot with the light where he's panning over, and then you see him with the dead body in the background with the sunglasses, but he doesn't notice it. It's shit like that I love about this. There's so much about the movie I love that I could go on for hours. I'm not going to, but I mean, is anything that I'm mentioning sparking any kind of thoughts in your brain there, Nick?
I don't know about sparking thoughts in my brain, but one thing I know I texted you before when I was watching this movie was like, man, before the internet, people would go into the woods just to throw themselves down hills and jump into lakes. And I'm like, so glad we have Netflix and stuff to keep us at home now, because that's gross.
And that they so that wasn't really the actors on there, obviously, but that was really stunt people. And if they had fallen, they would have been dead. Now there was
Because
no
it was
nets.
like a steep hill that they. Oh, you mean that? Yeah, there's like a bridge that's like a rope bridge that plays a big part in this movie that they keep walking over as like a, some sort of like rite of passage, I guess you would say.
Yeah. And there's and it's a big setup for the reveal of the killer or killers too.
Right.
Because there's two sides, and and that scene in particular, I'm not going to say which actor, but when he's holding on to the rope near the water,
Yeah.
he had no harness, like
Right.
he,
I actually looked at it and was like, I don't think that there is a harness in this scene,
No.
and it looks terrifying.
there wasn't. That's it's very very low grade, and it's but it's cool though. What is it? The movie I mentioned, The Final Terror. Like, I don't know if you had seen The Final Terror, but that one is like a backwoods type of slasher where one person gets killed and the whole group just says, fuck this, we're going to find a killer and kill him. That's it. It's like, they're not like, oh my god, no, please. Oh, let's go fuck. Oh, he's here to kill me. Oh my god. This one here is like, no, we're going to kill this motherfucker, right? And they go after it and they kill it. But they feel guilty for doing so. That one has like Joey Pants in it, Daryl Hannah, Adrian Zemed, what's his name? Niedermeyer from Animal House. A lot of people are in that movie. And it's really good, but it has that feeling where the thing is that just before Dawn and The Final Terror, the reason I'm comparing the two is that The Final Terror has that same feel, except there's less slashing and more just group activity and hanging out. And I'm like, no, I want to see more slashing in my slasher movie. Not that I don't like The Final Terror, I do, but it just has, I like Just Before Dawn way more. And actually, as far as like slasher, my love of slasher movies, if I had to choose, it would definitely be in my top 10, if not top 5. Because it's near perfection. It's like Black Christmas. Like, for me, it's like a near perfect slasher movie, where it's pretty to look at, great acting, score is phenomenal, and it sets you off. If you notice that, like Black Christmas, same thing. It's just like piano strings being like played around with and stuff. There's no like Harry Manfredini score in this.
Yeah, this movie's a lot more serious than your general,
Right.
80s slasher stuff. Like, it doesn't. The way that the cast acts in it, I would compare more to The Descent. Where at no point do you feel like this is like a cheesily written horror movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though there's cheesy stuff in it, it's handled seriously. Like, everything in it is very serious, and it's not. Yeah, it's just, there's no bit that's like even though there's nudity in it, it's not like ridiculously gratuitous, or even though there's killing in it, it doesn't feel gratuitous. It feels like intense. You know what I mean?
Right. It's just boobs. And
but that's not the point. I mean, it doesn't matter what it was. It's just the way things are handled is different throughout the movie.
There's no male gaze. That's
Sure.
That's what they call it now.
I know.
Gaze.
That's what they like. But yeah, like the like horror movie tropes and stuff of people dancing around a campfire and then going into their tents to fuck. It doesn't feel. It just doesn't feel like that super cheesy stuff. It's like, in every Friday the 13th movie, and obviously in Friday the 13th movies, you almost feel like sometimes the actors aren't taking it seriously, just because why would they? It's a goofy horror movie, you know what I mean?
Right.
And in Just Before Dawn, it feels like people acting like people trying to make a good movie. It's shot well, it's directed well. It's all like, a movie that's good. That's better than right, but it's better than it has any reason to be.
Yep.
And I almost feel like if this movie had more cheese, people would talk about it more, right? Like if this movie was like,
but
because if this movie was more like, I mean, like I don't know. I almost felt like I could compare it to other movies, but then I was like, wait, I actually like all these other movies that I'm comparing it to. But take like let's look at like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. You know how cheesy that movie is and stuff, and it's got a lot of goofy shit in it, right? That movie feels corny. And this movie just lacks all of that corniness. It's not without its campiness, but it's definitely without its ridiculous cornball stuff. I guess I repeated myself 4 times now, so that's good time to stop. But yeah, it's just serious without being like annoyingly serious and pretentious.
Right. It seems it's very simple. That's probably what you're looking for, maybe. But it's not. It's not.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's simple like, oh yeah, a bunch of people get killed. It's not that easy. There's a lot more to it. And it's like, it's about like incestual stuff and all that too. That is like the underlying tone. And please don't let that put you off. It's not that.
Right, I wouldn't even have brought that up.
No, but I mean,
that is not what this movie.
No, well,
is about.
It is.
Yeah, but I don't want people to think it's like.
No. It's like a weirdo people. Let's say.
Right, but I mean, it's weird people in the way that like Deliverance is, and
right.
I mean, we've talked about before how like inexplicably Deliverance, even though it's not a good movie and not a good movie to go back to or anything, it was a huge hit at the time.
I like Deliverance. I think it's a good movie, but
it's long and like not much happens in it. You know what I mean? This is like it feels very much like that sort of feel, but without without like drawing things out artificially and waiting forever for something to happen, and then it finally happens. There's action throughout. And interesting stuff going on throughout the movie is what I'm trying to say.
How many copies of this movie do you think I have, Nick?
At least 4.
Close.
Including digital, 7.
Okay, so digital, DVD. I have the Code Red Blu-ray, which also has the director's cut. But what is it? Code Red's brother is releasing it on Blu-ray again, and I'm gonna get it again. So, but he cleaned it up, so it's. I mean, the print that you saw is kind of like it's dark and murky. The Blu-ray is gonna be the newer Blu-ray is gonna be a little bit more cleaned up, but it's like, I don't know, man. If you ever want to get that feeling, if you have seen it, let us know, please. Let's talk about Just Before Dawn more, because I think it's a movie that doesn't need to be put on a pedestal necessarily, but it's like, if you like this genre, it's one you should definitely check out. And if you don't like it at first, give it some space, like give it about a year or 2, and then watch it again, and you'll understand. It's one of those that watching it again, not right away, but down the line, you start to appreciate it more after seeing all the junk that you saw within that year or 2.
another part that like just exemplifies what I'm talking about with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part where they discover a dead body that has been, placed in the water or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they pull the dude out and they try and give him CPR. And I was like, I can't even count the amount of movies where I've ever seen that happen in a horror movie where they find the dead body and instead of freaking out, they're like, oh God, he needs CPR. Like, it just feels more realistic,
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that's what you would do in a case where you find your dead friend. Like,
Right. That's what I'm saying, dude. There's so much. There's a lot in something that's pretty much a straightforward movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, one thing I was going to say before, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but Lieberman did say that he even says, I think in the commentary, he's like, Texas Chainsaw? No. And he still hasn't seen it to that day, which was 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Chainsaw. He goes, Deliverance? Definitely. Definitely saw that one. But I don't know. It's just it's yeah. I think it's definitely one of my all-time favorite slasher movies. I would put it up there with definitely Black Christmas, Scream, Nightmare Before Christmas, Nightmare on Elm Street. That it definitely fits in there. It does, but it's one that I definitely recommend checking out if you haven't seen it. And again, if you have seen it and love it, let me know. Let Jeff Lieberman know. He hasn't done much. He did this Remote Control with Kevin Dillon and Satan's Little Helper and some stuff in between and all that. But he's one of those that I just wish he was able to do more,
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that's kind of surprising in this too, did hearing Blondie kind of throw you off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because for a couple of reasons. First off, it's an actual like hit song,
Yeah.
and normally in these movies you get like crap music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I was like, oh wait, this isn't the '70s, because I immediately just assume it's the '70s based on the look of the movie and stuff. So yeah, it confused me for a moment.
If you ever see the trailer, it doesn't have. I don't think Blondie's in it. I know it has the other one that the same composer made for the movie. What is it, Friedel or Friedel? It's the campfire song. Ah, baby. When I was playing that, my girlfriend started singing it over and over again. She kept on walking in the room going, ah, baby. That's so good. All right. So anyway, definitely recommend Just Before Dawn. Buy it multiple times like me, and you'll be happy. Anyway.
Yeah, again, it's like one of those weird things where it's like, why is this movie not more well known versus the ones from its time? I think that's the most interesting part about it. So that's that.
That's it. All right, that's the no, I'm kidding. All right, so
No, we got
let's
shit to do.
now. Did we just overrate this?
Right. Did we overrate it for someone out there?
I can't wait to talk about this shit because I got some stuff to say, Nick. I got some stuff
Really?
to say about the word overrated in horror. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, well, yes. Yeah.
I didn't realize we were talking about overrated.
No, we're talking about overrated. We're going to define the word. I'm going to make a lot of people happy and also pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal of the show. Is to weed them out.
To make them nauseous.
All right, let's do that. Let's talk about overrated stuff.
So hype is a big deal when it comes to movies these days, not just horror movies. You look at the marketing that is done for movies, especially stuff like we're recording the day before Captain Marvel comes out, and you think about how that movie's been promoted, where you see like literally ads for it everywhere on on everything, on buses, on bus stops, on bus stuff, or you see it online, you see the multiple think tank articles about it, about people who are like, oh great, a feminist hero, and then other people who are like trying to tear it down because it's a feminist hero, and like then you have all these things, and it's like hype on a movie becomes this giant intangible thing, right? It's a great way to look at it. Because it's not just the posters anymore. It's not just the trailers. It's a thing. It's a thing that you discuss. It is a big cultural touchstone point, right? Same thing with Avengers the month right after. When we come to horror, what's got hype right now? Stuff like the movie Us coming out from Jordan Peele next month, which I hope is – I mean, it's probably the movie I'm looking forward to the most this year right now. Personally, at least, especially within horror.
When they released the poster, people are like, "This is the best poster I've ever seen, ever."
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
So when we get to talking about overhyping something, that's kind of what we're talking about. The reactions to things where you or someone around you overhype something, pushes the hype on you in such a way that you get yourself all excited for a movie, and then you see it. And you go, oh, that wasn't quite what I was expecting, right? A lot of times, it's probably your own fault because you're old now, or you're older. You should know when a movie's going to suck, right?
There could be some younger people listening to our.
Oh yeah, there could be. All right, well, if you're young, you're going to learn that like those trailers sometimes are better than the movie. And sometimes you can tell when you see a trailer, like the movie is not going to be as good as that trailer was. Other times you get fooled. You get fooled because the trailer is so good, and then the movie's just not there, right?
Mm-hmm. That's called false advertising.
Sometimes.
I have a theory to share when you're finished. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I want to hear your theory.
Okay, well. So there is a theory out there. It's not mine, but there's a theory that
was false advertising because you told me it was yours.
No, I know, but I'm getting to mine. Hang on.
Okay.
Stand by. There's this thing that people like to like something first. They want to be the ones that discover something.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, imagine way back in like 1970, was it 3 or 4 when Chainsaw came out, and you saw that for the first time and nobody else saw it, mm-hmm. right? You would be like, "This is the most disturbing movie you'll ever see." Blah blah blah. Okay, my theory, it kind of takes from that, but there's a big problem in the year 2019. And it's called too much, where there's too much content. There are too many movies. There are too many horror movies. There are too many TV shows. There are too many web shows. There are too many posts to look at. There are too many articles. There's too many news programs, fake news programs, whatever. There's too much of everything because we have become so... And it's funny saying it's doing a fucking horror show here, but we've almost become people in the world have pretty much embraced movies, comic books, music, news, to the point of they need to tell you something first. Like when a trailer comes out, how many people share that trailer on social media? It's not the actual companies putting the trailer. They put the trailer out, but then people share it because they want to show you so that you discover something through them. It's like a vicarious thing. So the problem with too much is that people will turn into carnival barkers for things that they like to get people to watch the thing that they like so they can also be accepted by their peers.
Yeah, because you're also expected to have an opinion on everything.
Everything. You can't even see, like, Go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to.
No, I mean, like in politics, you have to choose a side. You
Right.
cannot choose third party or being a centrist or abstaining from an idea. You have to be left or right only, right?
Like
And
me.
it's like that in a lot of things. It's like that's why you see people with things like Captain Marvel. If you don't like it, you're immediately, well, you're a misogynist, and it's like, whoa, maybe I didn't like it. I haven't
Right.
seen it yet, so
But
don't quote me on it.
there's
Maybe
also
it's
like
bad. It comes out tomorrow in my timeline. Okay.
that whole thing is also that thing where there are quote unquote comic book nerds and geeks that never picked up a comic book and would actually throw you down the fucking stairs for reading comics because you were a nerd or a geek back in school. But now that it's become cool, have adapted to reading said comic books or whatever, and now those people are the misogynist dickheads that we hated in high school, who now have taken over what we used to love back in high school, and now they're the ones that are acting like it's a fucking football game.
Dude, look at this is one that you can certainly attest to, especially horror fans listening. When you're young, 20 years ago, you talk about a serial killer thing, when you're in high school or whatever, and people are like, "Oh, you're nuts. You're a crazy person.
Yep.
You're weird." Now, here in the year 2019, they put fucking Ted Bundy shit on Netflix,
Oh,
and
yeah.
everybody watches it. People watch it. I don't even want to watch it, and I'm a sicko motherfucker. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to glorify Ted Bundy talking. No offense if you watched it. If you watched it, whatever. I mean, and this is coming from someone who once hosted a true crime podcast 2 years ago. It's called Never Found. It's out there. Go look for it.
Can't find
You can
it.
rot. Yeah, you can't find it. It's Never Found, dude. We had a good theme song too, but nonetheless, the Never Found podcast. Yeah, so I'm not even lying. But yeah, all right. It goes from only us weirdos are allowed to like it, and we're Satanist freaks for liking this, but now it's mainstream, so it's everybody's cool with it, and it's okay to talk about it. And I find that much more egregious even than the superhero movie thing. Like, yeah, the superhero movie thing, I definitely think that people took comics and kind of like now they claim a love for it. And I mean, granted, you can love the movies all you want, but there are definitely people out there who never read a comic that are like, "Oh yeah, I'm into comics," because they watched movies. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Or like, "Oh yeah, I love all these true crime podcasts," but 20 years ago you were calling us shitheads and weirdos for liking it. And it's very frustrating to go through that transition in history.
But don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with adapting and liking something that you once thought was stupid, because you grow and you learn to accept certain things more, and that's cool. But don't bring your bullshit baggage with it. Like, don't. The serial killer thing, it's another thing, but that's like, don't bring your psychotic tendencies with it and say, well, this is cool and these people are cool. I really love these. No, it's not cool.
Right. I mean, a perfect example, I saw this exchange on Twitter yesterday between Gail Simone, who's a comic book writer, and some loser idiot on the internet, right? And she had written a joke tweet that was like, "I think that the Punisher would be prettier if he would just smile more," right? And the dude responded, "I get what you're going for, but if you had actually read The Punisher, you would know that there are storyline reasons for why he wouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah," right? She just posted back a picture of her bookshelf, right, with her name on the spines of all the books. And the dude was like, "Okay, you have a comic book collection, but that doesn't mean you know anything about it." And she was like, "Which one of us has actually written Punisher?" like, that is exactly how deep this goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got to rein things in a little.
Anyway, yeah.
That's
so
the overhype.
Overhyping and overrating. So, like I said, like, I'll take my own suggestion here, for instance. Just Before Dawn. Let's just say I said to everybody, you have to watch this movie. It's the greatest movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Your life will change if you watch Just Before Dawn.
Right.
That's called overhyping. You guys know you're not stupid, and girls too. We're not sexist. Okay, so, like, What I'm saying is that people are becoming carnival barkers for the shit they like because there's too much of everything out there where people are watching TV shows. Like, they don't have time for 2 hours of a movie, but they have enough time for like 12 hours of a TV show to binge on Netflix or what have you. So people are trying to. The thing is that nobody, when you, and this, I know it sounds contrived and a whole bunch of shit coming out of my mouth, but when you're in high school, it always reverts back to high school and the school system and the way it works with cliques. You always want to be accepted. There are those like myself that don't give a fuck about these things, and I'm not saying I'm a better person for that, but you actually become lonely a lot. So there you have it. But when you have cliques and you're accepted by other people, you feel validated in what you like. It's like a stupid human characteristic that most of us have, and it sucks. I despise it. But that's what happens. When you leave high school, you never really leave high school. You want to be accepted by your peers, and by your coworkers, and by your boss, and by your girlfriend, or your wife, or the girl you're trying to sleep with, or guy you're trying to sleep with, whatever. You want that. So when you see a movie, and somebody else is like, well, I got about 1,000 other movies to watch, and you're like, oh, no, you have got to watch the Friday the 13th remake. Oh my god, it is the best Friday the 13th remake there is. It's got this guy in it, and he chases people and kills them with a machete. It's amazing. You have to see it. The words amazing, amazeballs, should be removed from vernacular altogether.
Agree.
Oh my god. There's so many I can't stand. It's words like that you're trying to get somebody else excited for something so that they watch it. And then when they watch it, what should be going through your head is, okay, here's a movie. This is what I'm in the mood for. I'm in the mood for a comedy, horror, whatever. I'm going to watch it. Fuck whatever everybody else says. Just watch it and see how it works out for yourself. Because there is... Nick, did you see a picture that I posted the other day? Which is Voyage of the Rock Aliens.
No, I didn't see it.
Okay, so I posted a picture. I got this German imported Blu-ray called Voyage of the Rock Aliens. It's a complete 80s musical starring Craig Sheffer and Pia Zadora. Okay? Terrible. Reason I'm bringing it up is I saw the trailer and I'm like, this looks like the just dumbest movie I've ever seen. Like, it just looks dumb, stupid bubblegum fun. And it's like, hey, when you watch movies from the past, it kind of brings you back to it. So I'm like, okay, I'll put that on. I watched it. Did I tell anybody I watched it? No. Did I tell anybody it's amazeballs or any other bullshit? No. The reason is, I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just saying the way that I'm handling watching movies anymore is that I watched it. Cool. I enjoyed it. All right. You know? I'm not sitting there telling you have to get this German import of Voyage of the Rock Aliens. People get it and want to fucking strangle me for recommending this terrible movie. But that's what I'm getting at, is that there's just people are just pushing things like the Black Mirror thing, and what's the other TV show that people are always like, you have to watch it.
You could name any Netflix TV show in that spot, in that sentence, and it would make sense.
And you watch it and you're like, all right.
Right. But hype works that way. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. Like I said, it becomes a thing. When you talk about a movie coming out, it's no longer just a movie. It's something you have to have a religious opinion about.
Right.
And granted, it's a little bit weird because the example that I'm going to cite as something that was overhyped for me, especially a horror movie, since we are talking about horror movies. Mm-hmm. The first movie that was really overhyped for me, and this is going to be my answer to the question, what movie was overhyped for you? Horror mm-hmm. movie was overhyped for you? Way back in the beginning of the 90s was Freddy's Dead. And the reason that it was like an overhyped movie that just like
So,
did not live up to the hype. What?
no, go ahead.
I was at the right age to be inundated with Freddy stuff, but not really. Kind of like it's kind of funny because like I think about this now with my son. My son is like, he's 5, he's in kindergarten, and he talks about Fortnite a lot, but he's not allowed to watch Fortnite videos on YouTube. He knows that. That's the rule. And he doesn't. I checked the YouTube history. He doesn't. Like, if he accidentally signs into one, you see like a little blip of someone having watched it 10 seconds and then backing out. Like, he's that good about it, right? He's not allowed to play the game because it's not rated E. He's only allowed to play rated E for everyone games. And, he talks about it because the other kids at school talk about it, and I'm sure that they brag and say that they play it, and probably some of them do, and then 90% of them don't, because that's the way being a kid works, right? But he's just he knows enough about it, but is not able to experience it himself. And that's how Freddy was for me in the 80s, because I was like 8 or 9 when like a lot of the Freddy movies were coming out, like, 3 through 5 probably, and Freddy hype was huge and weird, especially if you were alive in the 80s and early 90s, where to the point that there were Freddy commercials where it was like, call my 1-900 number, and you can find those commercials on YouTube. That's a real thing. And the video with the fat boys and stuff like that. Like, Freddy was a huge cultural icon at that period, and I was interested in it, but I wasn't quite allowed to like experience it, right? And I don't remember what the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie I saw was, but I'm pretty sure it was Freddy's Dead. And I watched it. And I watched it after having seen Friday the 13th movies, right? That I know for sure. Because when I saw it, I was suddenly like, huh. And I mean, Freddy's Dead was promoted a hell of a lot, because it was like, oh, this one is the last Freddy. This is the end of Freddy Mania, right? Freddy is going to die. I remember I had a Cracked magazine. Cracked, in case you don't know, was like Mad Magazine, which I guess I have to explain that too. Cracked magazine. So Cracked magazine was a magazine where it was like all parody and satire drawings of and like comic strips and fake articles about like cartoon characters and cultural things going on. And like it's almost like Robot Chicken before there was Robot Chicken, if that explains it to you, which is a really weird way to put it, but I'm trying to explain it to someone who was born in 1991. That's how I would explain it to you.
Don't
like
forget Crazy. There's also Crazy with Obnoxious the Clown.
Right. This was a thing. I don't know why. But anyway, so I had Cracked magazine, and I remember the cartoons from it of like Freddy running people over and stuff, right? And I was all hyped up to see it. And then I saw it, and like, if you've seen Freddy's Dead, first off, I don't think it's anyone's favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie, right?
No, there are people that say that it is their favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Well, that's amazing. But and probably untrue. But it's very campy. It's very cheesy. It's very fake looking. It's very 90s. And it's like very indulgent in that sort of like Freddy cultural icon character, It's not even about like the horror or being scary like the earlier movies are. It's just like, here's the wacky slapstick Bugs Bunny character, And I was not prepared for that. I was expecting it to be like a huge gory mess, like Jason movies, because I had watched several before I got to that movie. And it just wasn't. And it's part of the reason that it's affected me still to this day, why I choose the Friday the 13th series over Nightmare on Elm Street. Because I feel like Jason never let me down that bad. Even in Jason Goes to Hell, which is another one that was like, it's the final Jason. And I went through this twice in my life. My early childhood, when I first became a horror fan. But still, at least, Jason was cool in that movie. And, I've come to really – I don't even want you to think I hate Freddy's Dead. I had a problem with it for a long time, but I actually came to have come to enjoy it. I realize now that it's kind of like a different facet of what the Nightmare on Elm Street story could be, you know, that they have that sort of versatility, that they can go from straight up being a nightmare to being sort of this campy, loony 90s horror comedy, question mark. I don't know if I'd call it a horror comedy, but it's kind of goofy to that degree. And
I
it's
would
got
call
Roseanne.
it funny.
No, I wouldn't call it funny exactly, but I might call it a comedy. But I mean, like Roseanne and Tom.
Yeah,
Roseanne and Tom Arnold are in it, and it's like, why? What's happening here? And it's like, it feels very much like a made-for-TV movie. I don't know. It feels like other '90s movies are made around that time. Like, what year did that come out? 91, 92?
Yep, 91, I think. It was 90 or 91. Let me look. You know, the reason that Roseanne and Tom were in that were the same reason that Jay and Silent Bob were in Scream 3.
You know, I think if we just let that linger, it's better.
91. It was 91 when it came out.
So I was about like 10 or 11 probably by the time I saw it. And it just underwhelmed me. And that was my real first experience with a horror movie being overhyped for me. And I've had several dozen other examples thereafter, but I felt like that one was a personal real first letdown that I could remember. And I remember also feeling that way with Jason Goes to Hell. Like when I was in 5th grade, I can remember some other kid who was taken to see the movie by his parents, and I was like, "You're lying. What happens in it?" And he's like, "Jason dies in the first scene." And I was like, "See, you're lying." And then I watched it, and Jason dies in the first scene, and I was like, "He told the truth." So it's good to know, like looking back, that he had like shithead parents who would bring their like 9-year-old to go see it, you know. So anyway, that was that movie. What movie would you first think of though, like when you hear like overhyped horror movies?
And the way my overhyped and overrated, it's not about the actual enjoyment of said movie. In a way, it's more of like along the lines of when people call it the scariest movie, and that pertains to movies like Sinister, you know, shit like that, where you're like, come on,
right?
And you remember when the Evil Dead remake came out?
I was just gonna say, yeah,
we had the other show, and everybody was bitching about the poster, saying it's the most terrifying movie. That was like a play on what they used to do in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
posters. That's all that was. It's not. They know it wasn't. Anyway. The movie for me is Audition.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
I still don't understand the fascination with that movie.
It's little things that get under people's skin, and then they say it's the most disturbing movie. I found it to be more of a drama and a bore than actual scare or anything like that. It's a good movie. I'm not going to say it isn't. But as far as like what your expectations are after having such, because I didn't see it for a long time. Like, all right, it was good. You know, it's a good movie, but I'm not like, oh my God, you haven't seen Audition? Oh,
right.
Pump the brakes. That kind of shit really annoys me. And that happened with Hereditary, as you know. And it happened with The Quiet Place. I know it happens with Bird Box and all that other bullshit. Like, people, you have to listen to who is telling you this in the first place. And if it's somebody that you trust, then, you know. I mean, hey, Nick. So, years ago, I went to a video store, right? And there was a guy inside the video store. His name was Ray. And Ray was my hype man. He was like Flavor Flav of the video store.
Mm-hmm.
I would pick out a horror movie, and he'd be like, he'd say, "Yeah, boy, you don't want that." No, he would say, no, but he's like, he kind of reminded me of Dan Aykroyd. So imagine like a chubby Dan Aykroyd with a mustache. That's how he was. And he was a guy I looked up to, because you know you're young and you look up to adults. Anyway, I chose a Bloody Birthday, and he goes, "Have you seen that before?" I said, "No," and he goes, "I wouldn't recommend that one." And I said, "Okay." He's like, "Pick up that one over there. It's called Toxic Avenger. I just watched that the other day. It was hysterical. One of the funniest movies I ever saw in my life." I said, "Funny? Really? I don't know if it looks funny." "Oh yeah, it's hysterical. You got to watch it." And I said, "Okay." And he starts telling me about, "Oh, you finally reached puberty. You got to see it. It's funny." I'm like, "Okay." So,
for that to be the fucking reason.
Yeah, so I took it home, I put it in, and I'm like, okay, this is a little goofy. And then the kid gets hit on the fucking bike, and his head gets squashed by the tire. I was mortified because at the time I was like of that age, and you don't see somebody of that age getting killed in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying Toxic Avenger is a scary movie by any means.
No.
But for a kid that's very young watching that, I wasn't laughing. I didn't understand the puberty joke. It just wasn't funny to me. I was like,
that is honestly one of my favorite things in that movie is when he's like in the bathroom screaming and his mother's like, "Oh, my son is going through puberty."
Right. But I was like, "Oh my God, that son of a bitch." And I took it back and I said, "Ray, this was violent. The blind woman's dog got blown away, and she almost gets raped. Like, what are you doing to me, Ray?" And he goes, "Told you it was funny, wasn't it? It's funny. It's a good movie." I'm like, "No, it wasn't funny. It was disturbing. I hated Toxic Avenger." I said, "Get this piece of shit out of here." And of course, I couldn't stop thinking about it thereafter. Like, what is it? New Year's Eve came up, and I rented a bunch of movies like The Stuff and Return to Horror High. And I thought Return to Horror High sucked. Everybody was like, "You gotta see that one sucked." But after watching it when I was younger, it took me a little bit, but I couldn't stop thinking about those movies. That's why I went back to them and fell in love with them. But Toxic Avenger I do love. I love the whole series, even the bad ones. But funny thing is, though, when it comes to Audition, and Sinister for that matter, the one girl I was going out with when Sinister had come out, she's like, "I'm going to go see this movie. I'll let you know how it is." And she left the movie. She goes, "Oh my God, I am absolutely terrified. The movie was terrifying." I said, "I know it's not going to be." Because she was not a horror fan, so naturally, it wasn't scary at all.
Everybody has those people in
But
your life when you're a horror fan.
Yeah, I mean, it has its moments, and that's cool. But it's not like I left that theater shaking. Like, Jesus. Anyway, do you have any more?
Not that I really want to talk about. I feel like those two are probably in the top 5 overall and very poignant ones to me. Both Freddy's Dead and Jason Goes to Hell. Yep. I learned to be disappointed from those movies, but I never learned the depths of disappointment that I would one day experience in the future with, all these other things. It's also like I can remember the first, and this is totally ridiculous, but it's a less than a minute story. I remember the first video game that I bought when it first came out, and I was like horrified with how bad it was. It was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Yeah. Which, dude, I bought that for my birthday or something, or I don't know, whatever time of year it came out. And I was like, brought it home, and I was just like, this is not that good. Mm-mm. Oh no. And since then I've learned many times that this will happen occasionally. You buy something and it doesn't work out. But that was the first experience I ever had with like a video game, when all video games were awesome. When you're, 6 through 10, every video game is awesome. And then to suddenly have that experience, it was like, oh no, I grew up a little today because I learned a lesson,
Imagine being a young kid when E.T. came out, and then you got the E.T. video game, and you played that.
Yeah.
That was me.
See, like I was so young when that game came out that I didn't know it was shit, and I played it a ton on Atari just because I was like, I was 4. But anyway,
Friday the 13th game. Blech.
oh,
Anyway.
see, I was 8 when that came out, and I couldn't watch the movies because I wasn't allowed to. Or actually, I was like 7 or 8, so I had the game, and we played the game all the time because it was, the closest we could get to Jason, and like I never understood that about my parents. They were okay with me like playing like violent video games and stuff, but they weren't okay with me watching violent movies. And then all of a sudden in the 90s that like kind of flipped. Like my mom gave me a big problem about playing Mortal Kombat, but I was like, Mom, I watch all the Friday the 13th movies. I'm fine.
Real quick, before we dive into the Facebook comments, the first time I was disappointed in a movie after being hyped up about it, when I realized, movies don't always have to be great, was Poltergeist 2.
Really?
Yeah. I left there and I said, what was all that nonsense? I turned into Norm Macdonald after I saw the movie. I said, what is the nonsense with the Indian guy and the people floating in the air? And the ghost,
man,
the
I love
ghost
all that
dimension.
nonsense.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, Kane guy's good. Hey. That's how I felt. But now I like it. It's like I remember not liking it back then, and that's when I watch it again. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember not liking this. That was fun. Anyway.
So, would you like to talk about our friends who wrote in? Once again, follow us on Facebook, The Jack and Nick Horror Show. Follow us on Twitter, @Jack and Nick Show, right? @Jack and Nick Horror. Who are we on Twitter?
Norm Macdonald.
Jesus Christ. All right, well, follow us wherever you can find us, and sometimes we'll throw out these questions to you. Especially on Facebook this time, for whatever reason, not on Twitter. I don't know. I have no explanation. No, wait, I do. It's because I forgot the password for the Twitter, so I forgot to ask Jack to do it. So there you go. There's your explanation.
Mike Merriman said, "Cabin in the Woods." But I think it mostly has to do with something that gets revealed so early in the movie that it totally kills the tension going forward for me. Not a bad movie by any means, but I'd say overhyped. Nick,
I have disagreed with Mike Merriman on that since 2012 when that movie came out, and he's still wrong. It has been 7 years, and no, you're wrong. It's a great movie.
The only thing I'll say about Cabin in the Woods is that that time frame we had to pick our top 5, and I had it as number 1, and Father's Day was a pubic hair behind it, and number 2. Father's Day I'd say is number 1 for me still, because I watched it more than Cabin in the Woods. But not saying the Cabin in the Woods sucks. Depends on the mood. If I want to watch Cabin in the Woods, I watch Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like in the is it really 7 years now since that movie came out?
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, 7 years since that movie came out. I've revisited it,
God,
but it's not like a movie that I like. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to watch this twice a year.
2011. Like it came out in 2011.
I think it actually came out in 2012. Didn't it get held back?
Yeah.
I don't know. We've been podcasting a long time, and so has Mike. So thank you for always writing in, Merriman.
Merriman. Sean Kelly Jr. First off, I'll say a person being overhyped, quote unquote, for a movie is not the movie's fault. God bless you, Sean. Marry me. Really. Can we get married, Sean? I'll convert to gay side. Anyway, I'm kidding. No. I love Sean. Sean's great. He has the same mentality as I do. It's true. It's not the movie's fault. Yes, he's right. It's your own goddamn fault. See? LOL. I'm laughing out loud too. Ha ha. Anyway, also never take initial reactions from festivals to heart. That's an entirely unique environment, and often the great theater experience lifts certain movies up. I always try to temper my expectations for everything.
Now that is actually like a very prescient thought right there. Never ever believe anybody who has seen a movie at a festival before you, because they are going to hype that movie up because they
All
saw
the
it
time.
before you.
All
It
the
is-
time.
Trust me, I've seen movies before they came out before. It is always more exciting or more awful to see a movie under those circumstances.
All the time.
Yeah, you should never trust anyone's opinion, even if it's me.
Dude.
But I will say, what's that?
You remember Def Comedy Jam? Did you ever watch Def?
Remember is a strong word, but yes, I'm familiar.
Okay. So imagine watching Tucker and Dale versus Evil with Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion in attendance with a bunch of people for the first time before anybody else. Imagine the reactions that movie got. It was like Def Comedy Jam. People were like rolling in the chairs, like standing up, screaming, hooting, hollering. And I'm like, it's funny, but it's not that funny, right? Mystery Men, Donald Glover and the whole crew, they're in attendance. People were throwing popcorn like Gremlins. It was like watching Gremlins, not comparing Def Comedy Jam to Gremlins, but imagine Gremlins and how they were loving Snow White. That's how much they love. Mystery Men is a funny goddamn movie. I'm not saying it isn't. However, they were acting like this is the funniest movie that has ever existed on the planet. And afterwards, they were like, wasn't that the funniest movie you have ever seen in your entire life? I'm like, yeah, it was funny. Yeah. I'm not trying to be the Debbie Downer here, but he's right, though. People go to these shows or festivals or screenings and are like overreacting because they're there, before everybody else. I don't know. Anyway. That being said, Sean says, I remember seeing the teaser trailers for White Noise with the creepy trailer voice dude describing EVP. He also goes to say that's electronic voice phenomenon for those who do not understand what that is.
Or remember the movie because no one remembers them.
I remember there was a sequel too.
I've seen them both. Because I'm an insane person.
Followed by them playing a series of supposedly real captured ghost voices. I think it was the first time I heard of this concept, and it gave me a chill. I don't think they actually showed much footage from the actual movie, and it was very effective. I was so excited. Then I saw the movie, and it was a complete bore. It has shrug and frowny face.
And that movie was one that was very... Like, the trailer was super effective. I remember when it came out, and I can remember watching this is one of the few movies that I can remember watching the trailer in the theater and being like, oh my God, we have to see this. This is nuts. They've never made a movie about this stuff before. They're going to expose it. They're going to show the world that ghosts are communicating through the devices, right? And the movie is so stupid and so boring. And then so stupid and has the most, really bad ending. And Michael Keaton is in it. He's the guy in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just...
It's the movie that killed his career. More so than Jack Frost.
Oh, dude, it is...
Before. He still
right, before he had a revival. Now you're in revival period with Michael Keaton.
Which is good. He's a damn good actor. I love Michael Keaton. But
I agree. I agree that...
some bad movies.
White Noise was definitely overhyped, I'll say.
The sequel was with Nathan Fillion.
That was a even somehow worse movie.
Oof. I always get that confused with Stir of Echoes, too, with Rob Lowe.
Ooh, yeah.
Stir of Echoes, I really enjoyed Stir of Echoes.
Not Stir of Echoes 2, though.
I didn't watch it. I'm like, eh.
Oh, I think I've seen... Aren't there 3?
Eric Hofer says, Halloween 2018. The film was a basic slasher that relied on nostalgia with way too many nods and winks at previous films. The more times I watched this film, the more I disliked it.
Yeah, there's an episode of this podcast called the Jack and Nick Show where we we shared very similar sentiment, except I was not disappointed in it.
Nah.
I was like, I was almost overwhelmed. Because I had very low expectations. I was like, this movie's not going to be that great, kids.
I totally get that. I totally get that somebody could not like that movie because of that, though. I get it
Absolutely.
because it is distracting. It's like, you know, you put in a horror movie and then all of a sudden you hear and you're like, what the fuck is this? This is distracting. And they're like, well, it was in this one movie, we had to put it in here. You know, that's one show we may do eventually. Other podcasters, please take note because you'll probably copy this. We should do the Nod and Wink show. where it's just people, filmmakers, I use that term very loosely, are like, did you see this? Huh? Did you see that? There are so many movies that do that, and it's also that small exclusive club that people are trying to be a part of.
Yeah.
That it annoys the shit out of me where it's like, well, you and I know this movie, but those other people don't. It's like, okay, great. Who cares? That's good for you. Okay. Anyway, I'm done with that. Okay, we don't have to do that episode now. All right.
Great, we did it.
Vincent Medina says, my friends said Bird Box was an amazing movie. See the word amazing. Remove it. Stop saying it. Good movie, yes. Amazing, no. Good acting, great concept, and lackluster execution. I have to... Misty replied, this exactly. It could have been so much better, but alas, I also didn't care for the main character at all.
See, if we were still doing a negative podcast, where we would, go after movies and tear them down, and we would get like thousands upon thousands more listens. Trust me, if we did, because that's where the fun is for people to listen to or whatever.
People love knocking things down pegs.
No, and we are very good at it.
We were great at it.
But
we overhyped our negativity on purpose as characters.
Absolutely. But the problem is, you for us, we no longer subscribe to that methodology. So we only discuss the things that we kind of enjoy these days because we're trying to pass along to you, the listener, things we enjoy. But yes, Bird Box, as I had mentioned, I did not enjoy. But I'm not gonna totally like.
I just pictured you putting your hand to your chest when you said it.
I did. I did.
He did it like a gay man, like, oh.
No, it was more like
I could see
worried about his congestive heart failure.
Nathan
but
Lane. Ow.
Once again, though, this is part of the Netflix hype, you know.
Oh my god!
And I think it's because there's so much shit on Netflix that everybody has like.
I can't stand it.
You watch a lot of mediocre stuff that you're like, oh, maybe this one will be good. Maybe this one will be good. Maybe this one. Oh, wait. I found a moderately good one. You know?
See, that's why I still subscribe to Blu-rays and DVDs, because you're committed. Like, you bought that motherfucking movie for $20, right? Mm-hmm. You are going to watch that and all the features and get your money out of it. If you don't like the movie, you're going to watch the commentary or something and go, okay, why didn't I like this movie? Right? Because
so basically, the Netflix overhype is real. It's a thing.
I think it was.
I'm almost surprised that more people didn't write in Netflix things that people had recommended to them and were not blown away by. You know what I mean?
So, I mentioned it before, I think. I'm not sure if I did. And it reverts back to Sean Kelly where he shared it on Twitter. The meme with the guy with the films. It's like, here's how Netflix distributes movies. And it's this guy with these movies and he just looks like all depressed, and he's like, here's some movies, I guess.
Right.
That's exactly what they do. They're like, oh, by the way, we got this movie called Velvet Buzzsaw.
Oh my god, I watched that the other day. Well, we could have discussed that as a movie that like had a trailer that made me go wow, and then a movie that made me go snore, you know. And I didn't hate that movie. I thought it was just okay. But once again, I've heard a lot of good stuff about Velvet Buzzsaw, and I'm just looking around like, what?
Anyway, Cole says, I just can't get on board with the massive hype and positive reviews Mandy got. It's not a bad movie, but definitely not as good. IMO. That's something else I'm going to bring up in a second. Sorry. As it's made out to be. Cage was great, but the style is not my thing. Now,
See, at least at least he acknowledges that it's not his thing.
right. And that's what you have to do.
Right.
That's why it's in IMO is like one of the most overused acronyms in social media still to this day. This goes all the way back to the forum days, because you have to say, in my opinion, because people think that your review is concrete.
Oh, right. They think that you're being like, if you don't say IMO, or in my opinion,
Right.
a lot of people will think you're just being objective when you're really just being subjective. You know?
Right? Yeah, they think everything is like. I used to get shit on. Let me behind the scenes here real quick, okay? You trust me, this has to do with this. Christine, the book, right? I mentioned it on the show that we used to do, that I enjoyed the movie more than the book. I got hate messages from people that listen to the show because how can you have such an asinine opinion? You are such an asshole. How can you demean Stephen King's literature to John Carpenter's piece of shit movie? How dare you? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, he simplified a stupid fucking story. Like, if you read the book, it's way too long. It's depressing as shit, more so than the movie is, and it's very, very, very contrived and stupid.
But the problem was you didn't type the letters IMO.
If I said, in my opinion, but they were like, "How dare you, dude?" People dropped the show because of that.
Yeah,
it's so
good job losing listeners.
Fucking don't care because I don't want them. It's the same rule that applies when you have a business and you have a customer that's a pain in the ass and they go, I'm taking my business elsewhere. Go, please. By all means. We don't want to deal with you anymore. It's okay.
Right. And if you listen to our review of Mandy, I, at the end, even say that I wouldn't recommend it for everybody because it's not going to be everybody's style. Right. It's your style. It's my style. We're nutcases. We love that movie. Mm-hmm. But it's not a movie that I would go to like an average horror fan and be like, see Mandy. No, an average horror fan I might – when I say average horror fan, I mean like, you know, the middle of the spectrum horror fan who maybe doesn't like either self-indulgence or extreme things. I'm not going to say, hey, go watch Mandy. It's freaking awesome because I think it's awesome. That's me, man. That's my thing, you know? There are some things that have a broader appeal, but it must be frustrating to not like Mandy and see all the praise it's getting. Right. And I can totally understand it because I feel the same way about like Hereditary, where I thought it was an okay movie, but the amount of ridiculous praise that it gets when I've seen horror movies for years do many of the same things that Hereditary does. And Hereditary was good. It just wasn't, you know?
It wasn't amazing.
Oh, my God. Next comment.
You hate that word too, don't you?
I just hate I hate amazeballs, and there's a history to that word because of the old podcast. There are reasons that I'm not going to go into why I hate that phrase, but anyway. You don't
Every time I hear amazeballs, my mind goes right back to Just Before Dawn.
Oh, really?
The end of that movie. That's what I want to do.
When I hear amazeballs, I think of how it ended up in like promotional material for our old podcast. One of our old things we were working on, and I was like, I can't believe you just wrote that. Do not write dumb stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't you or me.
No, I know.
So
Joseph said, well, I'm going to read full names. Fuck y'all. Joseph Charlesworth, and the last guy was Cole Antovich. Joseph says, when I saw Halloween 2018 opening night, I was very underwhelmed by it. I went and saw it again later with a buddy of mine to see what he thought of it. And he said he loved it. I don't get it. The series I'm making this dramatic. You hear that? I don't get it. This series really did not need to come back. And he's got smart face.
Well, no, he's kind of got like a face with no frown, just a line.
Just like
I feel like that guy
mouth,
a lot, dude. I feel like that emoji is like me.
Yeah.
But yes, you know, if you listen to our episode on Halloween, I understand what you mean.
Yeah,
Like,
he's right.
It was really like that movie when it came out was like super overhyped with people like dying over it.
Oh my
and
God,
we were like,
yeah.
and we were like, it was okay, guys. It was okay. It wasn't bad.
The same
It
shit
wasn't bad.
happened with the Evil Dead remake. People saw it first, in California because everything goes to California or New York first, and they're all like, "Oh my God, it was amazing." You gotta
Right.
see the Evil Dead. There's that gore, and there's like blood, and it's so great. You're gonna be amazed. And
Right.
wait till you see the end. Click, click. Wait till you see the end. Oh man, you're gonna love the. It's like, oh God.
And I remember, like, even when we reviewed that movie, we felt like, even though we were praising it a lot, we felt like we had to temper our review of it and be like, even though we're saying it's great, we're not saying it's whatever those other people said it was. Especially, like, you get this all the time as horror fans, because the horror media is a promotion machine. Sites like Bloody Disgusting and I mean, like every other website that you could possibly fucking name
Everything.
is that they're promotion machines. They literally are just repeating to you the PR messages that they get sent by agents and stuff. I know, because we used to be on those mailing lists and get them, and now that we like avoid them, we're able to like disseminate things a lot
Fucking hate
better.
us now because of that.
Well, you know, they don't remember us.
They don't remember. No, but like, people like certain companies would send us shitty movies and say, "Here, review this, horror people." And we're like, "This isn't horror." And
Or they would send us press releases about stupid shit. I still get press releases sometimes about video games. I haven't reviewed a video game online for years. I have in my inbox today 4 emails about video games because this fucking PR company sent me shit. And it's like, dude, I don't even have a YouTube page anymore. And like, if you're a news site, a lot of the news you read in entertainment news in general is just regurgitated PR company garbage. It's not news. I mean, like, great. It's great that you got the information, but it all builds into that cloud of hype that surrounds the movie. And then when you're a place that like people are depending on your opinion about things, or I don't even understand. Like, Bloody Disgusting especially has always frustrated me so much because like, and I think they've gotten better about it over the years. I think that they have, but like they used to come out with like, here's, oh God, we saw this movie, here's the review, it's the best thing ever. And then you see the movie and you're like, I'm not even going to remember this movie in 2 weeks, Mm-hmm. And I mean, now that, and I feel like that was before like the streaming period where now we all kind of experience movies together again. That was more in the period where it was like you could only see a movie at a festival and then hope to see it like 2 years down the line on VOD or something like that.
When you get to it, it's every. It seems, Nick, you got to agree with this, at least, maybe. How many horror movies have you watched where people are like, you got to see it, you got to see it. And you watch it, and you feel like the person telling the story is just like, yeah, and then this happens. Mm-hmm. And then this happens. Isn't that sad?
Right.
It's so depressing, isn't it?
Like,
Fuck
another one that
life,
comes to
Nick.
mind
Fuck
for
life.
me that is just like that is the movie The Dead, which came out in 2011, I think. And it was the first first horror zombie movie made in Africa or something like that. And it wasn't even made by African people. So I don't know why we were excited. Not me. I saw this movie and I was like, no. But like they made a big deal out of it. And it wasn't anything. And like here we are 8 years later, nobody's talking about The Dead. Everybody acted like it was groundbreaking. People literally said it was the the best zombie movie they had seen since Night of the Living Dead. Literally, multiple people said that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 8 years later. Nobody remembers this movie or its sequel, The Dead 2, which took place in India. And both are like just the most boring, poorly made, garbage zombie movies.
Speaking of that, there's a zombie movie that we enjoyed that vanished. Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody talks about it. Why? Because it's good, but it's not. It doesn't have that lasting power.
Right. And even that movie, people said it was funnier than Shaun of the Dead. No, it was not. No, it was not. And I enjoyed that movie. I mean, both movies, but I didn't enjoy it more than Shaun of the Dead. And people who said that at the time, I would say that they were liars because, like, it's really weird because, like, when you are this person who's like actually thinking about the entertainment that you're consuming, and I mean, I've had to for the past 8 years. Like I said, we've been podcasting, so we overthink everything, and it's like you get to this point where like you remember all the times that people told you other things, like their opinions on a movie, and their opinion was total shit, and you knew that they were full of it, right? And then 8 years later, you still remember the people who told you that, but they don't even remember the movie. They have no growth. They have no growth. They have no understanding. They lack the self-awareness itself that would allow them to understand that they were wrong then, and they're probably still wrong now to this day. You know what I mean? And that's such a weird thing. That like, and it's torturous. It's torturous to be the person who knows when that you're right and that those people were wrong, but you can't even tell them because they don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry, we're going off topic.
That's okay. Speaking of off topic,
right?
Sean, I don't want to marry you. Can we just be best friends?
No, read another comment.
I have a girlfriend. Just kidding. All right, Misty. No, I do want to be her best friend. He's awesome. All right, Misty Hopkins. She's going to be your best friend. It's time for a divorce, Nick. My most recent, biggest movie disappointment is Rare Exports. Such a great idea, and it started out good, but ugh, that last act. Plus, the main kid needed to die.
Yeah, he did.
Several times. Several times he needed to die. Still trying to sell the copy I sadly paid $15 for. Smad face. Anyway, that is a smad face.
$15 for that movie. You could get it on VOD for less. And guess what? It sucks on VOD too.
Granted, I never saw any of the original shorts. They're actually on the DVD. So I went in totally blind. If I had seen the shorts, I never would have watched the film.
Hate that movie.
I know you do.
Rare Exports.
And you want to know something funny? Ever since we watched that movie, I haven't yet to watch it again.
Because it's not that good, Jack.
You're right.
It's not.
No, you're right. And you know what? Guess what? I didn't say it was great, but
no, you didn't. I know you didn't, and I have the physical proof that you didn't.
Yeah, so do I.
Because when we used to give ratings, I used to write down the ratings. So I know.
Some people gave like ratings just to be spiteful bitches.
Oh man, what a life we've led.
Can you imagine that? This is how fandom has gotten, and not just on our show, but people will not like a movie just because somebody else likes it.
Well, dude, that's exactly what's happened with movies like where because there's some reason that a movie's being pushed, people will say that they hate it, right?
Yep.
We've seen that with most recently the Ghostbusters all women movie, which granted I said was not good at the time, but I didn't hate it. But you know that there are those people who hated it before it came out because it was, a feminist hero movie or whatever.
You can't replace our Ghostbusters because
there were also
men.
people who said it was the greatest movie ever before it came out because they were putting women at the forefront of a blockbuster as if it had never happened before or since, which is bullshit.
Just like Wonder Woman. Ugh.
Right. Wonder Woman,
fucking disappointment.
Man, that movie was I still don't understand what movie people are watching when they say that movie was great.
Non-horror, obviously, but that was the most overrated superhero movie. I'd say more so than Black Panther was.
Oh, I would too. I actually
because,
I mean,
Jesus, and I'm not exaggerating with my but dude, there are people that you and I both know that were like, this is the greatest superhero movie ever made.
I cried at it, they said. And I don't even know if we're talking about the same people. But I know that there were people who said that they cried at it. In fact, I saw that on Twitter, not the people we knew. Yeah. Damn it. I don't know what I'm talking about.
But I'm like, I watched it and I said, dude, my own girlfriend, she loves like movies that have, strong female leads and all that too. And afterwards she was like, meh. Like, okay, it's not just me. Because I was worried, like,
right.
Not that I need to be accepted or anything, but I'm like, that just sucked. Like, that was, and she's like, it was all right. And I'm like, why does she have to fuck the dude? How many, do you see Captain Marvel or Captain America fucking? No. Iron Man fucking? No. Incredible Hulk fucking? No. Do you see Superman fuck? No. Batman? No. Fucking Aquaman? No. Do you see Robin? Fucking no. But Wonder Woman had to fuck Chris Pine. Come on.
Man, I don't even know what you're talking about because I couldn't even finish the movie. It was on HBO.
Dude,
and like.
So, get this.
No, I mean, it's okay. I get it. Okay.
No, get this. Get this. Geez. No, they get together with the group, and then her and Chris Pine come down late, and they're like, oh. Uh-huh. Nah. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. Like, she had to get the P and the V, had to. But I'm like, you don't see the Blade? Did he fucking no?
Are you sure he didn't?
He didn't fuck anybody.
I don't know, man.
Blade didn't fuck Jessica Biel or the blind chick or anybody.
Well, he definitely didn't fuck them.
No.
But no, the point is, well, no, not even the point. I still want to say this.
No, but
DC movies of this DC cinematic universe these past couple of years, my favorite movie out of all of them is unapologetically Suicide Squad.
And you heard about the sequel. The sequel's going to be good because you got James Gunn, you got Will Smith out of there, and Idris Elba's in there. So,
but
there you go. Whatever.
And I'm not saying I love Suicide Squad. I don't love it. I think it's more fun than the other movies in the series, but like all of them, Man of Steel, hate it. The fucking Justice League movie, I made it about 20 minutes into. I couldn't do it. It was bad. Superman vs. Batman, I made it 41 minutes and 8 seconds, and I tried 3 times to watch that movie, and I cannot do it. It is bad. And Wonder Woman, I made it about 40 minutes in, and I was like, I don't feel like I have to watch the rest of this movie because it's super boring. Is there another one? Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to Aquaman just because now it's become like a game. Now it's become a game because, like, I'm waiting for it to come on HBO because when it comes on HBO, I'm going to watch Aquaman, and you know what? I want to know how far into Aquaman I can make it. If I make it all the way to the end, it must have been better than all the rest of them except for possibly Suicide Squad. That Suicide Squad is a dumb fucking movie, but guess what?
Sure.
I'd rather a dumb fucking movie than a movie that is boring. So that's my take on the DC universe. Just to be fair, because I know that there's going to be someone out there that's like, these guys are Marvel fans. I tried watching Ant-Man and the Wasp on Netflix. It's on Netflix right now. That movie is dull as shit. I didn't make it more than a half hour in, and I was like, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I didn't like it.
They got yous, by the way. They got you guys by the balls. They're like,
who's they?
The Marvel. They're like, how can we turn a TV series into a movie series but make people buy all of it over and over again?
And not just buy it, but spend billions of dollars on it over the next. Because we are essentially watching a TV series.
No, it's brilliant.
It's Game of Thrones at this point.
It's really brilliant. It's a really smart way, but now they got you hooked. And you know what? It's funny. I still have yet to get to. I watched Age of Ultron and I forgot everything about it already.
See, that one was not a good one.
Yeah,
See,
but
yeah, we could say I'm an equal opportunity offender when necessary. I will insult your Marvel movies and I'll insult your DC movies, but I actually like way more Marvel movies because they're good.
anyway, we're
And one
getting
of them's
we're getting
Blade,
off.
and I love Blade. And Blade is a movie that could not have been overhyped because it's like the best movie. So there.
I hated Blade when I first saw it, but then I appreciated it after the fact because
In IMO, I hate you.
it was under the circumstances in which I saw it that
I
couldn't enjoy it because my friend fell and hurt his knee, and I couldn't stop laughing.
dude. One time, I went to the movies and I saw a really shitty movie, but my friend's chair, the chair he was sitting in, fucking exploded, right? And I was like, "What happened?" And that was the best part of the movie. I don't even remember the name of the movie. It was Simon Pegg was in it, and it's not good. And the chair broke, and it will historically be the night that the chair broke at the movie theater. And it was great because he's not even fatter than me. I'm the fattest one there, and my chair did not break.
Was it the space movie?
No, it's the one that was like how to make enemies or something. It was stupid.
What? That is one thing that did annoy me with Cabin in the Woods. I gotta say. What's the movie with Nick Frost and Simon Pegg with the alien? I can't remember that.
Paul.
Okay. That movie I didn't like. Spoiler alert for Paul and Cabin in the Woods. They both have the same ending, where Sigourney Weaver shows up.
Oh, I thought you meant that the...
No. Like, Sigourney Weaver shows up and it's a big reveal. And when I saw Cabin in the Woods after, I'm like, okay, I saw that in Paul. And why isn't it like Jamie Lee Curtis or somebody that's really horror related? Granted, she's an alien and Ghostbusters, whatever. But it wasn't that thing, It wasn't I was like, why is it... Could they not get Jamie Lee Curtis? I think that would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Adrienne Barbeau, even. Anyone. Amy Steele. Anyway. It hurts. It hurts my head. But yes, people, when you see movies and you like them, tell people you liked it in your own opinion.
IMO.
IMO. Yeah,
that's the lesson we took here tonight. IMO is a big deal.
It sucks. You shouldn't have to put that in there. But it's like, people, when you comment on something, that's your opinion. It's obvious, but people are like, no, that's your fact. And your fact is wrong. Here, I have the receipts.
Oh my God. I don't know, Jack. We've been terrible people on the internet too. We have no room to speak.
We have?
IMO.
Never been terrible on the internet.
IMO. Yeah, IYO.
So is it going to be the Jack and O show?
The Jack and O.
The way you're saying it, you're like, IMO. IAMO. IMO. Breathe.
It's over, Jack.
It's not. Nothing is over until...
Tell them where to find you.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor, Nick?
Well, I thought that's how the war ended. Oh, man. Imagine if you were actually that stupid. Like, it was so funny that I just said that out loud. So follow me at New Jersey Nick on Twitter. Actually, if you want to follow me, you can send me a request and I'll let you follow me because I have to be in like lockdown mode for a little while longer because I'm unemployed and trying to find a job because I'm a fucking loser. Jack, you're on Twitter, right? At Jacob K666.
Yes. And also on PS4, same.
Oh, I wouldn't tell people that. Nobody can know my name on PS4 or Xbox.
You can know it. I might ignore your ass, but No, I've played those things, games with our own tour.
Is this the part where we talk about what video games we've been playing?
Guess what I've been playing?
I got a list. I'm not going to talk about them. What?
Guess what? Battlefront 2.
Again.
Still, I can't stop playing it. Dude, I'm like the top dog on there. And it doesn't matter because there's no ranking. It's just like, you won. Good job. All right, see you later, asshole.
Oh God.
It's, dude, I've had it for over a year. I got it like last November, and I'm still playing it. I have a problem. At least I admit that it's a problem.
Damn, dude. Damn.
It's that mindless thing where you're like, you know what? I just need something mindless to take my brain off of the 20 people I want to punch in the face today. So I go in there and play it for a little bit, and then I'm done. It's getting the demon out. You know what I mean?
You're breaking the habit. I don't know. I'm like
IMO?
almost asleep.
IMO.
IMO.
Here you go. Ready, Nick? Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
Is this going to go on like all night? Or nobody's listening. No one will hear this part.
They've already hung up. They're like, we're done listening to this. These assholes ramble on and on. And listener, if you're still listening, one person. The reason that we both sound like we're both hammered is because we're extremely tired. Because we're old people.
This planet.
We're just tired with all you fuckers overhyping shit and undercutting things that are great, you know? And just like what you like. That's what this is all about. Like what you like.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Anyway.
So, are you sad that Nosferatu is going to be a TV show and not a movie?
Nah, it's all right.
Okay.
But it's another TV show. Dude, there's a Hannah TV show. Hannah.
On what channel?
On fucking Amazon Prime.
Oh my God, I didn't know.
See? That's there you have it. There's too many. There's too many shows. It's like every time I turn around, there's a new series coming out. It's like, there goes another 12 hours. That's why I don't watch all that shit. I ain't got time for it. Mama didn't raise no fool.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to our stupid show.
If you're still out there.
If you're still out there. If you're not, well, you can't hear us.
Bye.
Sexual.